I've decided to start a new life without you.
The words hung in the air of the hotel ballroom where we'd gathered for the annual charity gala benefiting children's cancer research. Grace, my wife of 20 years, stood with her champagne glass still raised, her announcement displacing the speech she was supposed to be making about our family's commitment to the cause. The clinking of silverware ceased. 200 pairs of eyes darted between Grace and me, waiting for my reaction. For the anger, the shouting, the dramatic exit everyone expected. Instead, I set down my glass and said, "Noted. I'll file that under transparency." She thought she'd stolen the spotlight, but all she did was turn it on the truth. Thank you for listening. If this story resonated with you, leave a comment below and subscribe to this channel for more infidelity stories and cheating wife stories on YouTube. My name is Brandon Caldwell. I am 50 years old, and until this moment, I had been playing the role of the devoted husband and father perfectly. I put my own business expansion dreams on hold to support Grace through 3 career reinventions, 2 graduate degrees, and countless finding herself phases. I raised our brilliant son, Aran, who sat at the adjacent table, his expression frozen in horror as he watched from the young professionals section. From the corner of my eye, I could see Cameron Wells, Grace's much younger boyfriend, shifting uncomfortably at a back table. The same Cameron who had been our travel photographer for family vacations, who had captured our happy moments in Bermuda just last year. With practiced calm, I reached into my jacket pocket and pulled out a small black box. I placed it gently beside Grace's champagne flute.
What's this?
She asked, her triumphant expression faltering. Something for you to review later, I replied. I'd already filed for divorce and would have her formally served tomorrow morning. The USB in the box contained a courtesy copy and summary letter. I stood and addressed our stunned tablemates. Please enjoy the rest of your evening. The cause deserves your full attention. I walked out of the ballroom, my head held high. The heavy doors swung shut behind me, cutting off the beginning of shocked whispers. Outside, the Birmingham summer humidity wrapped around me like a blanket, but I welcomed it. For the first time in years, I could breathe freely. Behind me, I heard the ballroom doors burst open, followed by Grace's voice, shrill and desperate.
Brandon, what the hell is this? What have you done?
I kept walking toward the valet stand, allowing myself a small smile. The USB I'd given her contained a summary of my evidence, meticulously gathered over months. I had always been the practical one in our marriage. While Grace dreamed big and took risks, I maintained stability. I was the one who saved for Aaron's education when Grace invested unwisely in her lover's wellness retreat. I was the one who worked extra hours as a finance director at a regional healthcare network when her midlife crisis led her to quit her stable position to become a life coach, a passion that lasted 8 months. My own dreams of launching a retirement planning consultancy were perpetually on hold. After Aaron finishes college, I told myself. After Grace finds her path. 3 months ago, I noticed discrepancies in our expense reports, reimbursements classified as vendor meetings that didn't match any actual vendors. Payment app transactions disguised as workshop supplies, sent to the same recipient repeatedly. Having spent 20 years managing both our personal and my department's finances, these red flags were unmistakable. I could have confronted Grace immediately, but something held me back. Perhaps it was the growing distance between us. Instead, I began investigating. What I discovered was worse than I imagined. Grace had been funneling money through fake reimbursements for over a year. She'd also been charging lavish dinners to our joint card, buying expensive camera equipment for Cameron, and had put deposits on timeshare presentations I'd explicitly refused. Then came the text messages I found, when Grace left her tablet unlocked. Messages about their future together. Messages about how she was finally escaping her boring life. Messages about their plans for the day after the charity gala. What Grace had forgotten was that I had been a financial professional for 30 years. I understood audit trails and expense fraud, and most importantly, I remembered the post-nuptial agreement we had signed 10 years ago after a rough patch when she'd had an emotional affair. The agreement we'd both signed in counseling, promising transparency and including a fidelity clause that would prove to be her undoing. While Grace plotted her escape with Cameron, I was building my case. I consulted with attorneys, documented every fraudulent reimbursement, gathered evidence of their affair, and prepared divorce papers. I timed everything perfectly, knowing Grace would want to wait until after the gala, where she sat on the planning committee. What she didn't expect was that I would file first and have her served the next morning. I drove to our home in Mountain Brook, the upscale Birmingham suburb where we'd lived for 15 years. The house that Grace had already promised to Cameron, according to messages she didn't realize I'd screenshot. Everything looked the same. Family photos lining the stairway, my father's antique desk in the study, the leather sectional where Grace and I had planned our future. Yet everything had changed. Upstairs, I checked the guest room closet. Grace's luggage was staged there, packed and ready for what she thought would be her triumphant departure. I shook my head at her overconfidence. My phone buzzed with messages from Gala attendees, from Aaron, even from Martin Reeves, our HOA president who'd been at our table. I responded only to my son. "I'm okay. This isn't your fault. Let's talk tomorrow morning. I love you." I had shielded Aaron from the truth for months, not wanting to distract him from his senior year at Auburn. He would be upset, but he'd understand eventually. 3 hours later, I heard Grace's Lexus in the driveway. The front door slammed.
Brandon!
She called out.
We need to talk. Now.
I was in my study, reviewing financial documents on my laptop. I closed it as she stormed in, her evening gown rustling, the USB clutched in her manicured hand.
What is the meaning of this?
She demanded.
You're serving me with divorce papers.
The formal service will be tomorrow morning, I replied calmly. I thought it appropriate given your announcement tonight. You wanted to start fresh. I'm simply facilitating that.
You had no right.
I had every right. Just as you had every right to choose Cameron. We all make choices, Grace.
The postnup was signed under duress. Any judge will throw it out,
she said, her voice taking on a desperate edge. I leaned back in my chair. Actually, we both had independent counsel. The agreement is ironclad, particularly the fidelity and financial disclosure clauses. Your attorney should have explained that to you. Oh, wait. You haven't hired one yet, have you? The color drained from her face. The postnup she'd reluctantly signed to save our marriage would now cost her the house, her stake in my retirement accounts, and her claim to spousal support. Her grand announcement at the gala had just become a very expensive performance.
You can't do this to me,
Grace said, sinking into the chair across from my desk.
We built this life together.
And you chose to destroy it, I replied, though not in the way you planned. Grace's phone buzzed insistently. She glanced at it, then ignored it. Cameron, no doubt wondering why she wasn't executing their plan.
You've always been cold, Brandon. Calculating. What about our history? What about love?
I studied her. This woman I had loved for nearly 2 decades. The woman who had stood by me when my mother died. When had she changed? Or had I been too trusting to see who she really was? Love meant everything to me, I answered. That's why your betrayal cut so deep. Her expression shifted, trying a different tactic.
Then we can work through this. I made a mistake. Couples recover from affairs.
This wasn't just an affair, Grace. This was systematic financial deception. Expense fraud. You stole from our family while planning your exit. You intended to humiliate me publicly. Am I wrong? I opened my laptop and played audio from her own voice memos.
After the gala, I'll tell him in front of everyone. He's too proper to make a scene. By the time he processes it, I'll be gone.
Then Cameron's voice.
What about the money?
Grace again.
I've moved enough. Brandon still thinks I'm buying supplies for my coaching practice. You went through my tablet? That's an invasion of privacy.
Cloud storage, I corrected. Shared family account. Perfectly legal.
And recorded without consent.
Not recorded. These are your own voice memos that auto-uploaded. Rather careless of you. Grace stood abruptly.
I need to speak with someone.
Of course. I'd recommend an attorney and a forensic accountant. You'll be staying elsewhere tonight, I assume?
This is my house, too.
For now. But given the circumstances, it would be best if you made other arrangements. You have until tomorrow afternoon to collect your things. Once the temporary possession order is filed, access will be restricted. As I walked her to the door, Grace turned back.
What about Aaron? Have you thought about how this affects him?
I kept my voice level. Don't weaponize our son. You weren't thinking about him when planning your new life with Cameron. Her phone rang. She looked at the screen and her face fell. Problem? I asked.
Cameron's at the condo. He says the landlord called.
The one you co-signed for? The one where his previous eviction just showed up in the background check. Grace's eyes widened.
How did you?
Due diligence. Amazing what public records reveal. I held the door open as she left, her designer heels clicking on the driveway as she fumbled with her phone. Martin Reeves lived 3 houses down in our gated community. As HOA president and a retired judge, he'd witnessed enough drama over the years. When I called, he didn't sound surprised.
I saw Grace's performance tonight. Come on over. The guest room's yours, as long as you need it.
I appreciate it, Martin.
After what she pulled at the gala? Half of Birmingham saw that spectacle. You handled it with more grace than she deserved.
Martin's house was quietly elegant, all leather-bound books and golf trophies. His wife had passed 5 years earlier, and he understood the peculiar grief of losing someone who was still alive.
What was in the box?
He asked, pouring 2 whiskeys. I explained the contents, the courtesy copy, evidence summary, and the post-nuptial agreement.
Smart move. She thought she'd blindside you.
She forgot I've spent 3 decades reading people's financial tells. My phone rang. Aaron.
Dad, I'm driving back from Auburn. Mom called me, hysterical.
Son, you don't need to.
I'm already on an I-65. She said you're trying to steal everything from her.
Aaron, your mother made choices that have consequences. I'm protecting what we built.
She said you've been planning this.
She's projecting. But we'll talk when you get here. 2 hours later, Aaron arrived, still in his Auburn polo, looking exhausted. He fell into a hug like when he was younger.
Why didn't you tell me?
I didn't want to derail your senior year.
Mom managed that tonight anyway.
We sat in Martin's study as I laid out the whole story, the discovery, the financial deception, the evidence.
She was using fake vendor reimbursements?
Aaron asked, his accounting major kicking in.
While telling me we couldn't afford spring break.
I'm afraid so.
And Cameron? Our photographer? The guy who did our family Christmas cards?
Yes. Aaron's phone buzzed. Text from his mother. He read it and his jaw tightened.
She wants me to talk sense into you. Says you're having some kind of breakdown.
What do you think?
I think she played herself.
The doorbell rang. Martin answered it, returning with a stern expression.
Grace is here, with the photographer.
I stood, straightening my tie. I'll handle this.
Security cameras are on,
Martin noted.
just in case.
Grace stood on the porch in yoga clothes, a jarring contrast to her earlier finery. Cameron lingered behind her, clearly uncomfortable. He was trying too hard with his carefully distressed jeans and vintage camera bag, the artist persona he'd crafted.
Brandon, we need to resolve this like adults.
Grace began. Aaron appeared beside me.
Maybe you should have thought of that before making your announcement at a charity event.
Grace's eyes flashed.
Aaron, this is between your father and me.
Not after you made it public. 300 people saw your performance.
Cameron stepped forward.
Look, maybe we should all just...
You should stop talking.
Aaron cut him off.
You took money to photograph our family while sleeping with my mother.
Martin appeared in the doorway.
I'm going to have to ask you both to leave. This is private property.
Grace ignored him.
Brandon, please. The accounts are frozen. I can't access anything.
You have your personal account, the one you've been feeding with false reimbursements. Cameron's head snapped toward Grace.
What false reimbursements?
So Cameron didn't know about the financial fraud. Interesting. Grace pressed on.
This is vindictive. The man I married would never.
The woman I married would never embezzle, I interrupted. Yet, here we are.
Mom,
Aaron said firmly.
you should go. Get a lawyer. Stop making this worse.
Grace looked between us, realizing she'd lost her audience.
This isn't over, Brandon.
File whatever you need to, I replied. I'm already done. They left, Cameron trailing behind, their body language suggesting paradise was already crumbling.
That photographer looked shocked about the money,
Martin observed. She didn't tell him about the fraud. Probably said I was controlling the finances.
The truth has a way of surfacing,
Martin said. The preliminary hearing came 2 weeks later in Jefferson County Court. I arrived with Philip Anderson, my attorney, while Grace brought someone from a TV commercial firm, all flash, no substance. The judge, a no-nonsense woman in her 60s, reviewed the post-nuptial agreement methodically.
This document is properly executed,
She stated.
Both parties had independent counsel. Do you contest its validity?
Grace's attorney stood.
Your Honor, we believe the agreement was signed under emotional duress following marital counseling.
Counseling both parties voluntarily attended? With a signed recommendation from their therapist.
The judge's tone suggested her patience was thin.
The agreement stands.
She continued.
The evidence of systematic expense report fraud is troubling. These transfers appear to violate both the fidelity and financial disclosure clauses.
She looked up.
I'm maintaining the asset freeze pending full discovery. Ms. Caldwell may access her personal accounts. The marital home remains with Mr. Caldwell per the agreement's infidelity provisions.
Grace shot to her feet.
This is outrageous.
The judge's gavel cracked.
Ms. Caldwell, you will address this court through counsel. We reconvene in 30 days.
In the hallway, Grace approached.
Brandon, please. 20 years should mean something.
It did, I replied, until you decided it didn't. I left her standing there, the weight of her choices finally registering. Word traveled fast through Birmingham's social circles. I maintained discretion, simply stating we were divorcing. Grace's version painted me as controlling and vindictive, but the Gala witnesses told a different story. 2 weeks later, Martin called.
Heard some news about the photographer. Left town. Apparently, Grace's promises about their future were as inflated as her expense reports. No money, no honey.
She always was good at selling dreams. I was rebuilding. My financial security, always separate from our joint assets, gave me freedom. I leased office space in a downtown high-rise and launched my consultancy, Caldwell Retirement Strategies, focusing on helping men 45 to 65 navigate late career transitions and retirement planning. My first clients came through professional networks, men facing their own crossroads. Aaron called weekly from Auburn.
Dad, I'm proud of you. You're helping guys who have no idea how to plan for what's next.
Just sharing what I've learned about preparing for transitions. Being valued for my expertise, rather than my stability, was refreshing. The final hearing arrived on a rainy Saturday. Grace looked diminished, her usual polish replaced by visible stress. Her coaching practice had collapsed without my financial support. Cameron was gone, already in Nashville with new dreams and a new partner. The social circles that had welcomed her now whispered behind raised programs. The judge upheld every provision of the post-nuptial agreement. Grace left with her personal belongings, her failing business, and the contents of her personal account. Barely enough for a modest apartment after legal fees. I retained our home, retirement accounts, and 85% of our joint investments, exactly as the agreement stipulated for financial fraud, combined with infidelity. As we exited the courthouse, Grace made one last attempt.
I made terrible mistakes. Is there any chance we could?
No, I said firmly but without anger. That door closed at the Gala.
I understand. I hope you find peace, Brandon.
I already have. 6 months later, Caldwell Retirement Strategies was thriving. I'd moved to a larger suite and brought on 2 associates. We specialized in helping men secure their financial futures while navigating major life transitions, career changes, gray divorce, sudden retirement. The work gave me purpose I hadn't felt in years. Aaron visited during spring break, impressed by the operation.
You know what gets me? If Mom had just been honest about wanting out, she'd have gotten a fair settlement.
Sometimes people get so focused on winning, they guarantee their own loss. The man who had once defined himself as Grace's husband and Aaron's father had discovered a new identity: advisor, mentor, and architect of fresh starts. The USB drive I'd handed Grace at the Gala hadn't just contained divorce papers. It held the door for my own transformation. It wasn't an exit, just the first clean page. Thank you for listening. Like the video and subscribe for more infidelity stories, cheating wife stories, and inspirational stories about finding the strength to start over.